Hello, welcome. This week we're going to make this. So, what is this? Well, it is a robot hand and it is made from cardboard, straws, and string. So, in this video, I'll show you how to make one of these and we'll also have a little look at how your hand works. Have you ever wondered what's inside your hand? Well, I can tell you that your fingers are much longer than you think. They run all the way down to here. If you don't believe me, have a little Google for x-rays of hands and you'll be surprised at how long your fingers actually are. Your muscles in your arm here use almost strings, if you like, they're called tendons, to connect up to your fingers. And when your muscle contracts, so if I do that here, if I squeeze my hand, I can move my fingers. So that is exactly how your hand works. A muscle shortens in here, pulling a tendon that in turn moves your fingers. Amazing. So let's get into the video and we'll see how we can make this cool robot hand. So in today's video I'm going to try to show you how to make a robot hand. You will need a glue gun. If you don't have a glue gun, sellotape will work fine as well. You'll need a cardboard box, so here's one that I've started cutting up already. You'll need some straws. I've got a few different colours there, different patterns on that one, but you can just have plain straws, that's fine. You might need a knife, but if you are going to use a knife at home, I would ask an adult to help you. You will need some string, so I have a little jar here with some bits of string, and you will need some scissors. So that is all the kit that you'll need to make this. I also have some Sharpies that I shall be using to help mark out my hands and also possibly decorate the hand at the end. So the first thing you'll need to do is to actually draw around your hand. So I'm going to use my right hand for this and I will pick out a pen. So I'll just use a black pen for this part. The first thing I did is I took a cardboard box and I've just broken it down. So I've just taken some scissors and made it into more or less the shape that I'm going to need. So the idea is the cardboard should be just a bit shorter than your forearm. So there it is. And what I'll do now is I'll just take a pen and just draw around my fingers. You don't have to use a pen. A pencil would work just as well, but that's what I'm going to use here. So you can see I've got a little bit extra for my thumb, and these bits I shall explain in a moment. But see if we can do this. Doesn't have to be perfect, so I'm going to move my fingers a little bit. You just want to make sure that you have a little bit of room between each, it's moving a bit there, between each finger, because you'll need to cut them out and make them articulated, in other words, make them move. So that's roughly the shape of my hand. So I'll just cut that out now and we'll get on to the next bit. Okay, so what's happened here? Well, what I've done is I've bent the fingers to try and match the bends in my fingers, the joints. So I've put my hands on the hands and I've marked a little line where I think my little finger bends, and I've bent the cardboard there, so that's a nice straight bend, and then I've done that there as well. So I've done that for every finger, and the idea being that when you pull on the string down here, that string will pull the finger and it will try to mimic the joints that you have in your hand. So that's one of the things I've done. This part here, you can do this in lots of different ways, but I very carefully used a knife and I've cut a hole in the side. I could have done it with scissors as well, but I've used a little knife. If you do use a knife at home, make sure you always cut on a cutting mat or something you don't mind cutting, because the knife generally will go through. Always think about where the knife's going to go, so always cut away from you. So for example, if I was going to cut this piece of card here, I would mark a little line and then I would use my knife, but I'd make sure that my hand is over here and I'd always cut like this. And that means that you cannot slip and hurt your thumb. A lot of people will hold the card like this either side and they will go to cut, but they'll catch their thumb. So always cut away from you. And even better, you can buy a special ruler, a metal ruler, that will actually prevent your fingers from getting hurt as well. I will show you one of those now. So here is a ruler that is a triangle. Don't know if you can see that, there we go. And the idea being that your fingers can be on one side and the blade is on the other. And you'd find it very hard to cut your fingers with this because there's a nice big barrier in between you and what you're cutting. So it's very good. You can also buy metal versions of this as well. But as I say, you don't have to use a knife at all. What you could do instead is just carefully push the scissors into the cardboard, watching out for your fingers behind, and then just cut. And that's another way that you can just make a slot. It's also a lot safer as well. So it's up to you what you use, but if you are going to use a knife, make sure you have some adult help at home. Right, once you put your cardboard piece in, you might think, what is this for? Well, the answer is, I can hold on to it, there we go, with my hands, and it makes a nice handle for me to hold on to. And when I move my fingers, the ends will wiggle, and that should form quite a nice grip. So that's what that's for. You don't have to make it the way I have. You can come up with your own design for that. But I think this is nice and strong. I'll pop some glue on there later on to stick that together so it's really rigid and solid. And my next and final move is to start sticking some straws. So you'll need to cut up the straws into small parts and glue them onto each part of your finger, almost the same as each section that you have. You will need a section of straw, and what that'll do is that'll cause the string to make a little bit of a joint in between the breaks of these straws, and it should hopefully make your finger bend. When you pull the string, the whole thing will like that. So that's what I've been doing. I'll get back to it and speed this up a bit and you can see how it turns out. I'm going to use the glue gun now, but before I do, I have a little temperature sensor here, so hopefully you can see that. So it reads the temperature. It has a little laser so you can see where it's pointing, but it has an infrared receiver and it can tell you what temperature things are, which is really useful. So let's have a little look. Ooh, 27, that's not too hot. Ooh, I saw 50 then, 59, 60. So this is a low temperature glue gun, but you can get high temperature glue guns. And the main hazard with this is that the glue comes out very, very hot. So please be careful. Just mind your fingers if you're using a glue gun, that's all. So I'm reading about 51 degrees there, but I suspect it will get, 75, yeah, it's still warming up. So if you get 85-degree glue on your finger, it will really hurt, so please be careful. If you don't want to use this, or you're not allowed, or you don't have one, that's absolutely fine. You can use some glue stick or PVA glue. That works really, really well. It just takes a little bit longer, but it's not a problem. So what I will do is put a small blob there, and then this is where you might hurt your fingers. Just be careful. Put a little bit of straw on there and let it set. So glue gun doesn't have any water in it, so it sets, it doesn't dry. So the glue is actually cooling down and setting rather than drying. So that's why we say it's setting. There's no water. There we go. Fun fact for you. So I've stuck those two on there. I suspect I'll need another pipe or tube to connect up the little finger here. But before I stick that, just have a look and think about where your little finger is. Don't have the pipe pointing over here to one of your other fingers. Try and angle it. There we go. So you can have it pointing straight at your small finger. That's the plan. I'll stick it down and perhaps you'll see a little better. So for this one, I'm just carefully going to put some glue onto the straw because I think that's easier for the bigger straws, and then gingerly pop it down like that. So that's lined up with that and lined up with these two little ones. So the only thing remaining to do is to go to my small jar of string, select some string and feed it through, and then what I'd like to do is attach the string to the end of the finger, but I don't want the string attached anywhere else, only the end. So I'll just do that now. So what's happened now is we have a little bit of glue stuck on the back there. We've got a string running all the way through, and when I pull on this string, I think you can see that the finger now moves. Isn't that good? Looks just like a real hand. Well, almost. But a couple of tips for you there. Put your glue gun onto some waste cardboard. It doesn't matter if you get glue on there, that's fine. Scribbling on there, that's okay. I just heat check this again, and I'm up to, if I put the light on, 124 degrees. So that's why you do need to be careful with these things. They do get very, very warm. You might have noticed that I used a bit of cardboard, a bit of sacrificial cardboard if you like. So when I did this bit here, I put some glue onto the card and I wanted to push that string onto it, but I didn't really want to get hot glue on my fingers. So I just used a piece of card and I pushed it and held it on there a little bit till it cooled and set. You can blow on it if you want to, and it will speed up the cooling process. But just be patient and wait a few minutes and it works just as well. The cardboard will hold the heat quite well, so that glue will take some time to cool. So don't be tempted to glue it and think, oh, I'll give that a pull. The string will just come straight off. It's not instant glue, so do be patient. You might have noticed I keep moving this little light bulb. I'll explain what that's all about at the end. So I'm now going to thread or wire up the rest of the fingers and we'll see if I can get it to work. Before I do that, one tip I would give to you is keep your string nice and long and only cut it when you've attached the hand. So I want a little loop around my small finger here. So now that I've made all of this, I have a good idea of how much string I need. So I shall cut it off here, like that, and then I'll try to make a little knot. There we go, just a basic knot there. And put your finger in the hole and see if you can make it work, which you can. Very good. You can adjust it. If you leave a bit more thread, you can actually then open up your knot and make that even longer if you need to. So try and leave more string or thread, whatever you're using, than you need, and then you'll be able to adjust it a little bit. Whereas if you make it too short and the string's up here, then you don't really have much of an option. Try and keep it as long as you can so that it's down there. There we go. Perfect. I'm very happy with that. So now I'll move on to the next fingers and then we'll see what we can do with the thumb. The thumb's always a bit of a tricky one because it moves in a sort of different way. We want it to do this. So maybe we'll come up with a clever system for that. But there we go. Aha, it works. So here is the finished article. So I've left the thumb for now because actually your thumb is quite useful to hold on to the grip here. But if anyone can think of a clever way of attaching a thumb mechanism, that would be amazing. So send that to me if you do. You might be able to run a string perhaps across these to one of your fingers. So when you do this, perhaps, it moves the thumb as well. You could have that. So it's sort of a pincer grip. So that might be quite useful. But yeah, it's working really well. I've made some of the knots a little bit tight for my fingers. Don't forget your fingers are different lengths, so you will need a longer string for your small finger, whereas these three aren't that different. So there we go, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's all working, and it looks quite effective, I have to say. So my next move is to try and pick up some things with it. Not so good. I'll have to have a bit of a practice, I think. But there we go. That is how to make your own robot hands. Lovely. One last thing I will say is I've also strengthened this part here, in other words the wrist on my robot hand. I've put an extra piece of card here onto the back. And the reason for that is when you really tug on all of these strings, I think you can see, it tries to bend the whole hand. So you do need a bit of extra cardboard here just to strengthen it. But yeah, that's fab. Right, last thing for you. You might have noticed the light bulb in the video there. Can anyone tell me who invented the light bulb? And also, why might I like the story about the invention of the light bulb? Perhaps it has something to do with determination and grit and not giving up, because the story of the light bulb is a very good one for somebody who didn't get it right first time but didn't give up and kept on trying. So send me a message and I'll see if I can find out who invented the light bulb, folks. Right, bye for now.